The headlines: a US drone crashes in southeastern Afghanistan. The Taliban say they've shot it down. Arab observers in Syria visit the city of Homs as the mission's chief says Damascus has been cooperative. And Saudi security forces storm people's homes in the eastern city of Amir, injuring at least 4 people. Hello, it's 5:30 p.m. here in Tehran. You're with Press TV's World News. A US assassination drone has gone down in southeastern Afghanistan. Locals in the town of Ahmedabad in Pakistan province have told Press TV the aircraft crashed midday Tuesday. Our correspondent fayez khorshid has given us more details.
We got a statement from NATO headquarters here in Kabul confirming the crash of this US spy drone in Pakistan province. The Taliban has also posted a statement on their website saying that their fighters brought the drone down in that part of this country. But NATO people inside NATO headquarters here in Kabul are talking about technical problems. They're saying that the main reason that it crashed and made emergency landing in Pakistan was because of technical problems. But let's not forget that many US drones have been brought down by the Taliban militants. The US-led helicopters are also being brought down by the Taliban militants in many areas of Afghanistan because now the Taliban are on very sophisticated weaponry, and it's believed to be a huge blow to NATO forces in Afghanistan.
US officials have called on Pakistan to reveal its secret military intelligence. Washington claims it needs the information allegedly to avert incidents similar to last month's attack on a military post that left 24 Pakistani soldiers dead. Here's more now in this report.
I just called on your president.
The head of the U.S. Central Command, General James Mattis, has called on Pakistan to share a map of its facilities and installations near the Afghan border. Mattis said the map needs to be kept up to date via a shared database. He has also directed NATO's International Security Assistance Force, ISAF, to boost mutual trust between Pakistan and US-led NATO forces.
Probably the Americans need to be careful about the sovereignty of Pakistan, and that is the issue at the heart of an entire dispute between the two sides. Pakistan wants Americans that at the end of the day, this is the time that you need to respect for the sovereignty of Pakistan.
The top U.S. military official's remarks come after a NATO air raid last month killed 24 Pakistani soldiers, sending the already uneasy ties with an important regional ally to the verge of a complete breakdown. An unnamed official in President Obama's administration has said Pakistan has made it clear that it's re-evaluating the entire relationship with the U.S. Washington has already got a taste of the new terms after Islamabad closed a key NATO supply route to Afghanistan, boycotted a conference in Germany on the future of Afghanistan, and booted the U.S. from an air base used to launch deadly drone strikes against the country, which have killed over 1,200 people, most of them civilians. Pakistan has also dismissed a Pentagon probe into the incident, which accused its forces of provoking the deadly attack. The U.S. has already become the most unpopular ally of Islamabad. Pakistanis have staged frequent protests since the NATO air raid, calling on their government to hold Washington responsible for killing Pakistani civilians and soldiers. Whether Washington's latest attempt to win back Pakistan's trust will bear any fruit, or Islamabad will continue to go ahead with downgrading political and military ties with Washington, is something the future developments will tell us.
Iran has started the trial of a man arrested on charges of spying for the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. During the trial, Amir Hekmati said he had been deceived by the CIA to spy on Iran. Hekmati, who's a US citizen of Iranian origin, has already confessed to receiving intelligence training by the US. He said he'd been sent to the US-run Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan and given access to classified intelligence before flying to Tehran. He said his espionage mission was aimed at infiltrating Iran's intelligence ministry. Iran's Navy has begun the second phase of its drills in international waters beyond the strategic Strait of Hormuz at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. Navy Commander Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari says friendly and hypothetical enemy forces have been stationed in pre-designated locations and the drill's tactical phase is now underway. He added the tactics used have been invented by Iranian forces based on their experiences from Iraq's 8-year war with the country. On the fourth day of the 10-day war games, Iranian naval commandos are conducting attacks and counterattacks against mock enemies' chemical raids. The maneuver covers a 2,000-kilometer stretch of sea. Among its objectives are to expand the presence of Iranian armed forces in international waters and prepare them against terrorism or disruption to regional trade. Israel is bracing for a large protest after ultra-Orthodox Jews clashed with police near Jerusalem Al-Quds. More than 10,000 people are expected at a rally to protest the exclusion of women as well as violence against girls and women by Haredi extremists. Several Orthodox Jews were detained on Monday as clashes erupted in the Israeli town of Beit Shemesh. The town has become a focus of friction between secular and ultra-Orthodox Jews demanding strict gender segregation and modest dress for women. The latest clashes came as police attempted to remove one of several signs in the town ordering segregation between the sexes. Hundreds of religious residents responded by pelting police with stones and eggs and setting rubbish bins on fire. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are marking the third anniversary of Israel's devastating war on the besieged coastal strip. They're scheduled to hold rallies across the strip. Memorial services are also set to take place in honor of the more than 1,400 Palestinians killed during the 22-day war. The resistance movement Hamas is also set to hold a press conference on the anniversary. Earlier, we asked our correspondent about the mood in Gaza. He said despite the passing of 3 years, Gazans still continue to suffer the aftermath of the Israeli onslaught.
Now, 3 years after that horrendous attack, the people here, Gaza's 1.6 million people, are still living in what is known to be the world's largest open-air prison. Israel continues to impose its siege on Gaza here. Now, the victims of that attack continue to suffer from psychological problems, and of course, especially the children, because Israel continues to target different areas across the besieged territory here, whether it's air raids or ground incursion, and that causes panic among the civilian population, especially children.
Let's cross over now to London, where our correspondent Hassan Ghani is joining us from the site of a gathering outside the Israeli embassy there on the third anniversary of Israel's devastating war on the Gaza Strip. Hassan, over to you.
Well, of course, you spoke to us earlier, and this is also the site where protests took place night after night as Israel was bombing Gaza during that war. As the bombing continued, the clashes between protesters and police became more ferocious as emotions spilt over, and the police were protecting the Israeli embassy. Now, that's a debate for a discussion for another time, but the allegations of police using excessive force. But the protest here today is very peaceful, but it's also very emotional. And earlier on, we were hearing chants of boycott Israel. I've got with me Sarah Colborne, who's leads the organisation, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, which has been part of the movement to boycott and enforce sanctions on Israel. Can you tell us about the protest today in terms of its meaning for the people here? I'm seeing not just any particular demographic. There's a good mixture of people, and there are also families here with their children. What brings these people out on a holiday to come here?
It's a united desire for justice and for peace and for freedom for the Palestinians. As you see, we've got the British Muslim Initiative, we've got the Palestinian Forum of Britain, we've got the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, we've got Stop the War Coalition, we've got the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, we've got Jews for Justice for Palestinians, all supporting this, all out today. And this is simply a tiny fraction of the British population who support the Palestinian struggle for their liberation.
You know, we see these protests quite frequently now for different events, and the numbers are, you know, growing. Taking into account problems with transport and so on today, it's been a very good turnout. But there's also a pro-Israel protest across the road, and they're saying that Israel has the right to defend itself against what they describe as terrorism. How do you view that?
What we're calling for is very clear, and this is the reason why they're using these spurious and factually wrong arguments. We're simply calling for international law to be applied. We're calling for the siege on Gaza, which is illegal, to be ended. We're calling for those who are responsible for the crimes committed in Operation Cast Lead, the Israeli military and the Israeli ministers, to be brought to justice. And we're calling for a free Palestine. We want to send a very clear message, not just to the Israeli government, but to the British government, that we will not rest until Palestine is free, until there is peace and justice for Palestinians.
I mean, we're seeing the protests here today, but this is perhaps an example of the work. I mean, this is people coming onto the streets, but there is work going on a daily basis behind the scenes, and part of that is the boycott campaign, which you're very heavily involved in as the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. What kind of progress have you made on that front, and is it effective? What are the reasons for doing so? Because some people argue that it's pointless and it doesn't have any effect on Israel's foreign policy and internal policy.
It's having a very major impact. People will see the cultural stars that have already come out and have said they're not performing in Israel, but we've also seen, for example, companies like Veolia, who are complicit in Israel's crimes, losing contract after contract. Only a few days ago they lost a multi-million-pound contract in West London, and this is very important because these are people on the ground getting together in the local communities and saying we will not stand back and watch companies become complicit in Israel's crimes. And so we're calling, and it's something that everyone can do. Everyone can refuse to buy Israeli goods, and everyone can get involved in local campaigns to stop Veolia or other companies that are complicit in Israel's occupation from getting contracts.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much. Thanks. As I mentioned, a very diverse crowd here, and just before we came on air, a cheer went up amongst the crowd as the Orthodox Jewish community, the Nutarai Karta, came and joined this protest at the front of the protest. As I said, families as well here, a mixture of religions. Earlier on we spoke to you, and we had Bruce Kent, a member of the Catholic organisation here representing his organisation. And as I said, this is just one of several fixtures, permanent fixtures now along the year, which are there to remind people and keep the issue of Palestine alive, whether it's Nakba Day, whether it's marking the Intifada, or whether it's Al-Quds Day, which is an international day marked around the world, and we see thousands of people coming out onto the streets and marching through to remind them themselves and the UK's general population that Palestine is still an issue that needs to be dealt with.
Okay, thank you very much. Hassan Ghani, our correspondent, giving us the latest from that protest gathering in London.